In this video, I'm going to open up the ultimate guide to Lumafusion 3.0 on your iPhone. We'll begin with the basics from creating a project through working with the essentials on your timeline. No fluff and straight to the point. Let's go. Welcome to Lumafusion 3.0. The first thing I like to do is give you a quick tour of the layout here. Now, if you look at the top left area here, this is what we call our file organizer, and you have a lot of choices. If you click on this top left button here, you have these options: photos, music, files, imported, titles, and transitions. When you choose one of these options here, they'll propagate into our video preview right here. But before we do that, you also have an option down here at the bottom. If we press on this, right here in this area are the items that are currently in use, as you can see. There are a few options available to you right here that are not by default, but you can choose these simply by clicking and dragging them over. These are certain services that would work in conjunction with Lumafusion. For example, Storyblocks is a service that I use, and I will be using some of their videos for our demonstration. Also, if you'd like to get rid of some of the options that are in use, you can just tap and drag them over to the available, which would make them then unavailable. Now that we know that, let's click on the X and exit out. As I said a moment ago, right here is our video preview. This is where we can click on videos, where we can get an idea of what's going to be displayed, and we can manage them a little bit, which we'll get into in a moment. And then finally, at the bottom is our main timeline, and this is where the magic happens. This is where you'll be doing the editing. So what we'll do first is click the plus button right here and create our first project. So let's click on that. What we'll do first is give it a title, and let's just give it a simple title like My First Edit. And you have a few other choices down here: frame rate, aspect ratio, and color space. Now, as you might notice at the beginning right here, all of them say based on the first video clip added. That means the very first clip that you add, it will adjust to that frame rate, aspect ratio, and color space. However, I suggest setting at least the frame rate and aspect ratio before you begin. Now, you have several choices when it comes to frame rate, from 18 all the way up to 240. And we'll get into what these mean a little bit later, but basically 24 is more cinematic, 30 gives you a more realistic look, 60 is more hyper realistic, and then when you get into 120 and 240, that's really for slow motion. So let's go for something pretty standard for online video, and we'll go with 30. As far as aspect ratios go, we have several options here as well. Look at all of this. But the typical aspect ratio, and the one that you're probably watching at the moment, is 16:9. So let's go ahead and choose that aspect ratio for our demonstration purpose. And as far as color space, we'll just leave it as is. You do have a few options here, but we're not going to get into that at the moment. Great, now that we've chosen our frame rate and aspect ratio and given it a name, let's click the plus button right here. And congratulations, we have created our first project. Something to keep in mind before we start editing is this little icon in the center here. If you tap on it, you can adjust the space to fit your personal preferences. Not only can you do that, down here, you can tap on this icon, and this will give you different workspaces. But we're going to go with the default workspace for our demonstration. And then finally, one very interesting piece of information is if you look at the gear icon right here, if we tap and hold it yes, we can now see simultaneously what each icon will do for you. This can serve as a great reference for your journey throughout Lumafusion 3.0. So let's talk a little bit about the timeline. Now, we've chosen here photos. At first, you'll probably see something like this: all photos and videos, just videos, moments, albums, and so on. I'll go for videos, but if you just see this and you want to scroll back, just click here and you can go back, and then you can go forward with videos. Now, what you can do here, if you see this little button right around here, you have a choice. If you click on that, you have the option for multi-click. And if you click here, everything is selected, and you can click here and give them all a color. Instead of that, you can go back, take it off multi-selection, and you can just select a few of them. And you can give those, let's say, a color. Take that out. Now, if you don't want to give them a color, if you just want to get out of that, just go back and click here, and you're back to where you first began. Over here on the right or in the center, this little icon with the eye, this gives you information. So let's say I'm selecting this particular video. I've already selected a certain amount of time here, and I'm going to get back out of that. So let's say I click on that eye, and I've got a little information about the video. These three dots right here, if you click on that, you get a little more information, and you have a few options. If you want to rename this file, you can do that here and rename it, rename your clip. If you want, you can add some notes. This could come in handy later. And then you have some information about the clip itself, which might help you with other reasons down the line. And to minimize that, just click right here, and then click here again. Now there's going to be a time where you accidentally click this eye, and this thing is in the way when you're scrubbing back and forth, and it's a little annoying. Just remember that this is the information tab that's open. Just click and it's gone. So let's go ahead and choose a video to put into our timeline. And I'm going to start with this one right here, and I've already selected a portion of it. Now when you select a video, it'll pop up here in your view area right on the right, and you can scrub back and forth like this. And if you click in the center, you can scrub back and forth just like this. This is your in point, and this is your out point. Now let's say I want to start this video right about here. Leave it there. I'm going to come over here, and I'd like to maybe stop it right about there. When I choose my in point and my out point, all I need to do to get this video or this selection into my timeline is click and then drag in. And there you go, it's in there, and you can scrub back and forth, and you can push play to see how it goes. Push play, and this is what you'll see. So there's our first video on the timeline. Another nice option that will help you is to expand and minimize your timeline. If you take two fingers and you scroll like this, you pinch down or you pinch outward, it will expand and shrink your timeline. This can really come in handy. So let's shrink it down a little bit, and let's add another clip. Let's say my next clip is going to be this particular one right here. So let's do our in points and out points as well. Let's say we're going to start right about here, and we're going to end right about here. All you need to do is come to the area that you want to put it. You can put it before this clip, or you can put it after this clip. You can insert by dragging and dropping, or you can click this little button right here and drop it in. Those are both of your options. Now, when they're in here, you can make minor adjustments as well by clicking on these arrows right around here. You can click and go backwards and forwards, as well as this side, back forwards and backwards. So we'll get it right about there. You can do this with all of your clips. It really comes in handy. And a nice thing to note are your headers and mixers right in this area here. This opens up your headers, and this opens up your mixers. Now, your headers give you certain options on the timeline. You can completely mute everything. You can hide everything from view. You can lock. You can choose when you put in a new clip to either insert or overwrite. And over here with your mixers, you can adjust the level of sound. If you're not muting things and you have sound like we do here, let's listen to this now. you can adjust the sound like so. And if you want background noise, it's usually good to go to a -20 to -30 decibels. But for now, what we're going to do is just mute this timeline entirely. In addition, you have a master volume here on the left where you can adjust as well. And just double tap and it'll go to the normal level at 0 decibels. So let's push play and see what we see. Our clip is played and switches over to the next clip. Okay, that's the timeline in a nutshell. So let's talk about the basics of adding music. What you'll do here normally, just as you would do video, let's come up here to the top left and we'll click on music. Now, what I've done is I've downloaded music from the internet, put it on my computer, put it into iTunes. In order to get it on my phone, I've simply connected my phone to my computer and drag and dropped the music file or files from my iTunes on my computer to my phone, and they pop up here. In order to add a music file to your timeline, simply click on it, just like we did with video, and you have the same options of scrubbing back and forth, but what we're going to do now is add the entire track to the timeline. Just drag and drop down here. Now, you might notice here at the top, there are 2 red markers. I've already added a few markers. Let's talk about that for a moment. As you scroll back and forth through here, and you can just listen to the music as we play it right now. And we just passed a marker. When you have a beat that you want to maybe make a transition or jump to a new video clip, you can add a marker. The way you do that is you get to the point that you want and you click on this little button right here. And you have 2 options. You can give it a note. You don't need to. I usually don't. And you can give it a color. You don't have to either, but I did. I gave it the color red. If you X out of that, what you want to do is if you want to get rid of that marker, all you need to do is just click on it and it'll take you automatically back to that marker. And then just click on that blue marker icon here and it'll disappear. So what we want to do now is we have 2 markers. These are places where the music beat will change to go with the music. So let's go ahead and just tap on the first red marker. And we're at that point. What we're going to do is expand this first video a little further, hopefully past that red marker, that first red marker, then click on that red marker, and then here we're going to tap the video, cut, and then there we go. Now we still have the second red marker to go, so we'll click on that second video file and expand it a little further. Click on the second red marker, which is here. Click on our video file and cut and delete. Now let's throw in one more video clip and let's go with this one here. I've already decided on my in and out points. I'm going to hold it and drag it in right here, and there it is. And let's expand it a little bit too. All right, now let's listen to the playback. And that's the basics of adding music and cutting your video to the beats. So let's talk a little bit more about cutting and trimming because you have a few other options. Let's go one step further and put in another clip and cut it to the beat. So I'm going to choose this clip right here of waves crashing in, tap and drag it down. Now let's expand a little bit so we have more room to work with. Let's just double click right here and expand about right here. Okay, let's listen for the beat to change. Okay, now if you heard it, it's right about there. You can see there's a bit of a spike of music right about here. So we want to cut this clip here. Now, before we do that, if you have nothing selected, you can click this little icon right here and it will slice everything in the timeline. Now, if that's what you want to do, fine. But at this point, you probably only want to cut one track. So to go back, if you ever make a mistake, here's your magic button right here. This back button, let me scroll back and find my place. Just click right here. All we got to do is click that back button and we've undone that choice. Now here are two other options. If you want to cut only the video clip here, we can click on it and click the scissors icon. There we go. Or you have something that might be a little more efficient. Let's hit that undo button. Now what I'm going to do now, I'm going to take two fingers, one on each side of the timeline bar. And on that same track, I'm going to simultaneously click, boom, and it automatically cuts there. Now watch, I'm going to do the same thing, but I'm going to do it on the music track. 1, 2, 3, boom, and it cuts there as well. Let's go undo, undo. This gives you a real quick option to make a cut on whatever track you want. You might have multiple tracks on here. There could be multiple video tracks, multiple audio tracks. So it makes things a little bit more efficient. So where do we want to cut? Let's go ahead and do that double click here on the video. Boom, hit the delete button and let's see the change. Let's scroll back and listen. And of course, we can place another video right after the preceding video and continue with our editing. Now, when it comes to replacing clips, you have a few other options available. So let's look at those now. Let's put in another clip here of the beach. Let's take this clip here of a few people in the back walking around, a few couples in the background walking around. Take it. And okay, that looks good. Hold it and drag it down. Now it's a little long. Just to make this look a little easier, I'm going to shorten the clip. So let's say this clip, for whatever reason, you want to replace it. We can see right in here that it's about 4 seconds long. Now if we want to replace it, let's say with this one here. Now we can scrub along, and if you look at the bottom of the video, we can drag it out to be about the same length. Let's say about 4 seconds. Now, when it's here, we have a couple options. We can hold it. So if we drag it right over the top, right about here, this means it's going to be placed in front of the clip, and our current clip is going to be extended to the back. Now, if we come over here and if we drag it down once again, we put it here, this yellow icon in the middle here signifies it's going to be placed after this particular clip. However, if we drag it on top, we have this box that's encircling the entire clip. This means it's going to completely replace the clip. And if we let go and we hit keep timeline duration, it's replaced. Okay, now that's one option. Let's hit the undo button and we have that clip back here again. Let's say we want to do one of two things. You can either insert a clip in the very center here, or you can entirely overwrite. Now, if we look at our little button right here, that arrow, it switches back and forth. Now, the arrow like this, it will actually insert something in the middle wherever you put your timeline bar. So we have it in the center at the moment. We have the other video that we want to insert. Now it's going to insert right in the center if I click this button right here. And it's inserted in the center. We have the couples in the background, the two people with surfboards, and then the couples in the background again. Now let's look at the alternative. Let's undo things. Now we'll put the arrow, instead of pointing to the right, it's going to point down. Now this is going to overwrite the clip. Now let's say we want this this video of the people walking just for, let's say, about 2 seconds. Let's put it in the middle, and we want to overwrite the rest with this clip here. Now that we have the overwrite arrow that's pointing down, our icon here has changed a little bit, and if we tap on that, it's overwritten that area and has not split it in half. So these are the options that you have for replacing clips. Next we have transitions. Let's go ahead and move, before we get into transitions, let's move these clips to where they make a little bit more sense. Let's go with the music. Let's listen a little bit. Oh, that looks pretty good. This hard clip from one to the other sounds good. Okay, so we have, these clips are aligned with each other. Let's go back to the beginning. Now let's look at the very top here. Notice down at the bottom we have our transitions options. Let's click on that. Now you have lots of choices here, but you probably only want to stick to these first two, cross dissolve and dip, because the others, at least for the moment, look a little unprofessional. However, the cross dissolve and dip do add a level of cinematography to your video. So let's use some of these. And you know, I've already used one of them right here. Look, this is a dip. Let's take a look at it right here. I've placed it right in the center, if you can see here. Listen and watch as the dip changes with the music. Okay, now hard cuts are just fine. They look good in video, as we'll see right here. 1, 2, and that's fine. We'll do another hard cut right here. 1, 2, and that looks good too. But let's say we want to make a transition from here to here. Let's do a cross dissolve. Now all you need to do is position your timeline bar right in the center. Choose the type of transition that you want, and you can just hold and drag it in and then just let go, and there it is. Now let's see what this looks and sounds like. Not bad. Now you also have the option of adjusting the length of the transition. You can make it longer. Let's say this is about 1 second, and you can make it a little shorter. So I'm going to go for a quick dissolve, let's say right about here, and let's see if this looks any better. Okay, I like the shorter dissolve better than the extended dissolve. So let's take a look at what all of these look like as we go throughout the timeline, starting from the beginning. Okay, and those are the basics for adding transitions for your videos. Now you're ready to take things to the next level. Make sure you click right here for part 2, where you'll find out how to further manipulate video and audio on a pro level.